Back
Well,
to you, Prof.
this afternoon, well, always every minute is valuable time for the students. And so we want takeaways for the students. And I think the big takeaway in this section is to have a bit more clarity on the production of the final assignment presentation, especially the video side. Just on the administrative side, Mazet, can we just repeat the basic requirements is 15 minutes or 12 minutes? What was it?
It's 15 minutes, maximum 15 minutes,
right.
And maximum 20 slides.
20 slides. Okay. And so class, 15 minutes means that the actual video length cannot be 15 minutes and 1 second. All right. It has to, 14 minutes is acceptable, but 15 minutes and 30 seconds is not acceptable. It will just be rejected. You'll just have to do it again. Okay. So it's a very strict. And so first of all, I just want to talk about timing and, how do you actually manage time in the video? Then I'm going to talk a little bit about production. And as part of that talk about production, I'm going to show you some examples of final assignments from last year. What do you think? Is that a good plan? Hello?
Yes, sir. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, Prof.
Good. All right, good. Okay. Yeah. All right. When you think about timing, and you probably think, wow, 15 minutes, that's so short. Yes. You've done all your work. You've done the written version of your assignment, which is a pitch, and you're using a business model canvas. And Mazet, have we any lecture or any part that's taken them through the business model canvas?
Yes, we had a workshop a few weeks ago. There is a recording. There are PowerPoint slides as well on Moodle.
Right.
So
excellent. Okay. So what you'll probably find is that the assignment. Okay, thank you. What you'll find is that when you do the assignment as per the written form and the business model canvas, you'll get together and you will do what they do in the movies. That is, before the actors go out into the scene and get filmed, normally they will sit around a table and read through the scripts together. And that's what you should do. And so you actually go through and read out your part of the presentation together, just to get a feel of, okay, what's the totality of that information you want to convey? And it might take you 20 minutes to read out everything you want to cover. Okay, so you sit around the table, you set up a Zoom session with each other, and then you practice. You just do a readout. That is, you each read your section and just start. Okay, that is your rehearsal. Just start, get a Zoom session, and then you each have there's 5 of you, there's 5 sections, or four of you, or 6 of you. Each do your part and see how long it takes. And you think, wow, 20 minutes. O'Connor wants 15, or it gets rejected. Well, what do we do? Okay, well, look, on rehearsal, it's always going to take longer. And then you go back and you think, okay, is there some part that I could emphasize rather than every bit of information in maybe my part is the motivation at the start. What is the gap in the market that I am trying to fill? Like Bima, no big insurance company was providing insurance for low income group. That's their little gap. And it might be the first part that you talk about that. Well, then you just focus on that and you pull out what's the key idea here that will get the attention of maybe VC capital. Remember, this is like a business pitch. And so ultimately the outcome is that you can convince an investor to give you money to actually make this become a reality. Wow. So it's not about reading out every part. When you go back after your first rehearsal, it takes a long time. you go back and you pull out, okay, what is the big thing about that first part? What is the big thing about that market that's untapped? And bring some excitement into that. And that's where you can actually bring your part down from maybe 3.5 minutes down to 2.5 minutes. And so now you can do a read through where you actually shorten each part. So it's not like, oh, we've got a 20-minute presentation, we've got to cut it down to 15. No, it's, you have 5 sections of a presentation that takes 20 minutes, and each of those sections is 4 minutes. Your aim should be to cut each of those 4 minutes down to 2.5 minutes. All right. Never think about cutting from 20 down to 15. All right. All agree as a group. If there's 5 of you, then 5, 15, you each have 3 minutes. The worst thing you can do is say, oh, well, you know, that middle section, that's a bit weak. We'll just cut that down to 1 minute. So therefore we can have a couple of 4-minute sections in the other, by the other group presenters. Then your presentation will be unbalanced, because you have to present the motivation. You have to present the market. You have to present the challenges. You have to present the financing side. All of these parts of your presentation are in some ways equally important. So don't think about cutting out one section to get into 15 minutes. Always think in terms of chunking. You cut off a little bit of each part. So on average, most groups, you have 5 in your groups. Is that right, Mazit?
On average, there should be 6, but there are some groups that have only 5 members. And
okay,
there are
so if you have
7.
5, 6, 5, 3 minutes maximum, but go under 3 minutes. Don't say 3 minutes, say 2 minutes and 45 seconds. It's much better you focus on that. If you have 6 in your group, now you're doing 2.5 minutes each. Focus on that. All right. And when you first do your read through, it might take every one of you, for a six member group, it might take each one of you 3.5 minutes. Well, then every one of you have the responsibility to bring your presentation from 3.5 down to 2.5 minutes. So you got to keep that balance, because every part of that business canvas that you are presenting on is kind of equally important. All right. So let me just summarize. Number 1, please do not leave it to the last minute and you have perfection in what you've written down to start thinking about your presentation. All right. Meet as soon as possible as a group and do a script read through over Zoom. Just set a time next week and meet once a week for at least 1 hour in every week. Meet for 2 sessions next week, then 2 sessions the following week, because the deadline is in about 3 weeks' time, right, Mazit?
In about, yeah.
About 3 weeks' time. So you want to meet about 4 or 5 times at a minimum, because you want to get a feel for what are the other parts that other group members are presenting, because you've got to have a flow between the presenters. All right. Okay. So how do you get from 20 minutes down to 15? By meeting frequently and making sure that every section is responsible and each section doesn't go over time. All right. I've got a presentation on how to chunk down your time. That's on YouTube. I can share that link with you and you can watch that. All right. Next, I want to get into it and show you some examples of some of the presentations that were undertaken last year. I'll show you some good ones and bad ones. And in this way, you can hopefully, number 1, I want this to be motivating. And the overall thrust of showing some of these videos is very positive. I'm not critical of the presentations last year. Basically, all of the presentations did very, very well. So if there's any part I said, oh, this person should do this, this, and this, I don't want to be overly critical, but I just want to show you how you can improve. Okay. So let's see if we can find some of these present. Let's start and put something into this space so you can see what we are talking about.
Prof, can I just add two things to what you talked about in the first part?
Yes, please.
It's really important what the prof mentioned, because everything is now done online, and you guys, if you allocate your work properly, you could literally, the technology allows you to work on your own. You record it at your own home, you send it to somebody else, and everybody compiles it, and you think that you've done a good job. But actually that is not the way forward. So what Prof mentioned, it's really important that you sit down and work together, because only then you will be able to see if there's any overlapping. Because remember, all these 9 building blocks are very much interrelated, and if you do not coordinate things together, then you might be repeating something that your colleagues have already said. So it's really important that you sit down and go through the entire presentation, and of course give constructive feedback to your colleagues on how to further improve it, or how to maybe include some additional things and exclude some others. So on that note, it's really important what Prof said, that you sit down together, you go through the script, even the videos after you record it, and then you decide, oh, okay, these are the things that are good, these are the things that we could improve on more, so let's work on that. Another point that I want to mention here is, again, technology allows you to manipulate certain things. So I remember we had one presentation last year whereby the group had a presentation that was, I think, about 18 point something minutes. And then we told them that you have to cut it down. So what they did, actually, they just went back. I think they edited it, and you know that these editing tools allow you to speed it up, and you cut down the time. But actually, the whole narration was just too fast, and that's not the way to do things. So please have that in mind. And yes, the technology allows you to do a lot of things, to correct some parts which you're not happy with, and that's absolutely fine. But do not do what this group did. Okay, our presentation is too long, let's just cut it down to 15 minutes by speeding it up. That's really not the way. So that's what I wanted to add.
Actually, Mazit, if you look into video production, what they do say, and like, you can speed it up to a little degree without being detected. And they reckon that once you go beyond a 5% speeding up, then it can be detected. So be very careful, students. All right. So it's possible to speed up by 3% or 4%, but be very careful, because sometimes the video software may not capture the alignment of your talking with your lips moving, and then your lips are going like, and the talking is different. All right. So Mazit is saying, please don't do that. Of course, you can do whatever you like, but we're just try and focus more on the script and speed. If you're going to speed things up, do it by actually rehearsing more often. So your natural ability is to say very, very fast anyway. And you can say it faster once you've gone through it 3 times, 4 times, 5 times. Things do get faster. All right. And then you don't need the software to do that on you. And Mazit, you're absolutely right. Even in the master's program last year, in another unit, there were 5 students in the group, and the big mistake they made is they sped up 2 of the students, but the other students were in normal time, and then it looked so strange and out of alignment, and they actually lost marks because of that.
It actually shows you that they didn't work together, right? Because if they did, they would have standardized it.
Yeah, Yeah. So do what the Netflix drama actors do before they go out and do the actual set acting. They actually sit around a table and actually do the acting by just reading out each other's script. And so you can do that over Zoom, and then just get a feel for, and then you listen to your other colleagues reading out theirs, and then you get a feel for the whole context of what you're presenting. And it really does come across if you have done this as a group. And for the next 3 weeks, you set aside at least 2 1-hour sessions each week. You have Thursday and Friday holiday next week. Try and find a time to meet at least in one of those days, and just start getting together as a group. Sooner the better. All right, let's get a random one out, and let's see what we can do with this. All right, because they're waiting to watch some videos. Okay, where's 1.2 is not. Why isn't 1.2 is here? 1.3 is here. Oh, okay. All right, let's have a look at this one. And I will share the screen, but I just want to cue it on my computer first. All right, I'm going to share the screen. Now, remember, again, we need to appreciate all of these groups did very, very well last year. And so we're looking for this as they've actually set a standard. So we're expecting some really good stuff from you this year. I will share the sound with you. So just let me click on that. Okay, I'm sharing the sound. Turn it up a little bit.
P2P financing company LendMe Lars and Jan Berhard, based on the BMC model. So first of all, my name is Marcus, and I'll be talking about 3 aspects of the BMC. First, we'll start off with customer segment. So who are our customers? On the issuer side, our customers will be SMEs, small and medium enterprises. Whereas on the investor side, it can be any.
Oh, that was nice. Actually, that was nice. Like right at the beginning, I just want to show you things that when I see that, I think, wow, that's cool. Like down here, he introduces himself, the company, right? But then suddenly, change of script, change of chapter, and then suddenly.
Based on the BMC model. So first of all, my name is Marcus, and I'll be talking about 3 aspects of the BMC. First, we'll start off with customer segment. So who are our customers?
Wow, I like that. All right,
so customers will be SMEs,
visual, and then change of what the.
Sir, can you share the video sound as well when you share screen? Because your voice is significantly louder than the video.
Can you hear the video?
I think you need to increase the volume of the video on the bottom right corner.
All right. Yeah, my voice is already loud. Yeah, the neighbors always complain. They're always knocking on the door because I talk too loud. Apologies. I'm in a flat here. All right. Thank you for your feedback. Good.
Financing company, we find it very important for us to match the right investors with the right issuers. As for our target market, my group and I feel that we will target multi-site markets to gain the most exposure in all the industries. Next is the value proposition, which is what LendMe La can provide certain types of value towards our customers. First of all, what we are doing uniquely compared to our competitors in the industry is we are trying to empower and give university students opportunities to list their projects onto our platform to gain exposure and to get funding. Next, we will partner up with financial institutions. The reason for this is to create a trustee account in one of the local banks, and all the money of the investors will be directly entered into that bank account on which our company will not touch. So customers will be safe and secured. Next is to help clients generate free tax reports. As we know, generating a tax.
All right, let me ask you all. So what is their product? class?
P2P lending.
E-lending?
Yeah, P2P lending.
All right, P2P lending. And so do you feel that that's, you know, you're into the 1.5 minute mark, you need to be very, very clear about, well, what is their product? What, you know, what, and what is their product? What is their market? And, you know, what is their real target of what they're going after? Okay. So you need to get into it as soon as possible. It's very, very
report can
clear.
be quite tedious for the
Okay.
normal. Our message as a P2P financing company to gain potential customers.
Okay, so now is into the 3 minute mark. And I'm thinking if there's a group of 5, then this presenter has gone for too long. Okay, so you really need to be very vigilant about the group time share in your presentation.
We look forward to implementing even further after-sales service and experience, as well as bring the company.
For our company, we want to maintain a healthy relationship with our customers. For the issuer sides, we will want to work closely with them to make sure that they reach their financing targets. And for the investor, we will provide them a portfolio with lower default risk, which they can track their transactions or their investment from time to time. Frankly speaking, customer acquisition costs will definitely be high to our company because we are just a small.
Okay, with all due respect to the presenter, by the way, you know, would you buy this app from this person? Like he doesn't sound convincing in terms of this exciting opportunity that they're talking about. Okay, look at me now. Look, I'm leaning into the camera. This presenter here is not leaning into the camera, he's just leaning back like this. You with me here? So lean into the camera. I'm giving you lots of tips here as we go through here. So please do take note, write down things, because these videos, we don't, you know, we don't make these videos public, but we just want to use this so you can learn, so you can improve. Lean forward into the camera, because I have a deal for you and I really believe in this product. Are you hearing me, class? All right, so just keep that in mind. All right, let's just keep going.
Is private information. In addition, they can track their loan portfolio from time to
business, so that we hope that all the mistakes can be eliminated. Okay. The next key resources will be IT focused resources that we are going to provide top-notch online platform experience.
Okay, what do you feel here about this presenter? Do you feel, is this presenter really driving home an idea that they want to talk about?
By designing the platform to be very user-friendly and very informative, so that our investors and issuers know that what they are going to do and what they are going to benefit from it. And we are also going to make it to be very secure, so that there is no cyber threats or anything, to protect our user base and to give
and tailors as well. So we mentioned that one of our key activities is to organize competition and campaign for students. So it will make sense to partner up with universities to organize competition and campaigns. So the winner of the competition with the best idea will get approval from one of the key activities that bank perform is they can hold the fund for each crowdfunding project. Besides, they can also help ensure our.
Here's another idea. A flow diagram like this sometimes works much better than a list diagram like this. Okay, so you want to, and be consistent, by the way, like nothing wrong with either one, but think about how you can be effective. And it's not about dressing it up and making it look nice. So, you know, blue background, white, and, you know, it's standard colors, nothing wrong with that. It's not about colors here. But when I see this, you actually provide some visual context for your plan of the key partnerships. And so I like that very, very much. Again, the presenter needs to be forward and needs to be feeling as though that they are really sold on this idea? If the presenter's not sold on it, how are they going to sell you on it, the investor? And then we get back. Okay, so let's, okay, that's the first one. All right. And again, like all of these presentations have done very, very well. They put a lot of effort into it. Let's have a look at another one and you can tell me what you think. So let's have a look at another one, shall we?
Ladies and gentlemen, before we begin our presentation, we would like to introduce ourselves. I am Chong.
I'm Galby.
I'm Jonathan.
I'm Debbie.
And today, we'd like to present our startup idea for the e-wallet company, Opulence. So when we begin developing our e-wallet idea, we had to first analyze the current market. And upon analysis, we can see that the payments and e-wallets market comprises nearly 40% of the fintech industry with billions of users. This means that the market is extremely crowded and competitive, and many of them are offering very similar services. However, despite the rapid growth in this sector, consumers here still prefer to use their bank cards, especially for larger transactions. Like how often do you see luxury products like LV being bought with Touch and Go or Grab? And so we had to think, why do consumers feel that way? Well, it's because people generally have more trust with banks with money.
Okay, so number one, what are the things that you are seeing already in this presentation? Class, come on, I want some feedback here.
Enthusiasm.
Enthusiasm. What else do you see?
Confidence.
Confidence. Yeah, if they're trying to sell you something, you want to know they have confidence in their own product. Is he leaning forward or leaning backwards?
His neutral position, I don't know.
All right, you're being honest. All right, but he's not leaning backwards. He's not being relaxed. Is he using his hands to explain some of the things?
Yes.
He's using his hands. He's using visual. He's using body language and not just a talking head. Is he asking questions of the audience?
Yes.
Right, and the slide seems to follow the dialogue that he's taken you through. Okay, very good. Let's do more.
Consumers trust banks enough to hold extremely large funds and perform the large transactions. On the other hand, e-wallets are generally thought as a secondary method to hold small funds and to conveniently perform the small petty transactions. Therefore, our company Opulence aims to build the trust with consumers and break them away from that mindset. So in addition to the tech-savvy audience, we would like to also aim towards the upper middle class, as these are the people with the financial capabilities of storing large funds and perform large transactions. And to do that, we had to propose ideas that not only makes us on par with banks, but possibly even better and more secure than them. And so our basic model is based on the company we interviewed, BigPay. We will have an e-wallet app that's integrated with a physical payments card. And in our case, this is Visa. This allows for both online and offline transactions that are accepted worldwide. Next, my partner.
Okay, so you can see that is taken. So which presentation, which group do you like best so far? The first one or second one? Which one has a clearer message?
Second one.
The second one.
Why do you feel the second one has a clearer message?
Because the second one, the presenter is presenting more clearly and more confident.
Okay.
Leaning on more towards the camera.
Okay. All right. So let's and what about at the beginning of the presentation? What do you see here?
We would like to introduce ourselves. I am Chong.
I'm Galby.
I'm Jonathan.
I'm Debbie.
And today, we'd like to present our startup idea for the e-wallet company, Opulence. So when we begin developing our...
All right, so you can see they introduce the group all together because some of you are asking, actually they're asking in another unit that I'm teaching, they have to do a video presentation as well. Students ask, could we make our own videos separately and then put it together using the video editing software? Of course you can do that. There's there's many ways that you can put stuff together, but you've got to find a way to convey that this overall is a group presentation. highlight what they do in the first 15 seconds of this video presentation. And it may be that these group members, they did it separately and then they've got the software to put it together, but they did have a nice front end to make it very clear that who are the members and who is presenting first, second, third, and fourth. Obviously, our first member is presenting for a long time. Let's just have a look here. There's only 4 of them. So I would say, yeah, okay.
Basically, this app is our entire product.
Yeah.
But in addition to this, we also have a website if customers would prefer to do their transactions that way in a bigger screen, or if it's more convenient for them to do so. As for customer relationships, our team is dedicated to provide the top quality support. And we have 2 main focuses on this, which on one side is in establishing relationships with new customers, and on the other hand, still remaining focused on existing customers, focusing on customer retention. So to establish new relationships, we would still do social media advertisements, as mentioned before.
So what do you like? What's good about this page here? What's good about this page here?
Concise information.
Okay, it's concise and it's grouped into 3 parts. Oh, there's 2 parts at the top, and then one is grouped into 2, broken into 2 again. Okay, and then she's using the mouse to draw the viewer's attention to one part or the other part as she is talking. Okay, all right. So just keep that in mind.
Engaging website with useful information, where every
At the App Store or Play Store, both of our digital services are user-friendly to save time and effort for the customers when navigating through Opulence to find the specific service that they want. In addition to the digital assets, we also have a virtual card option for customers. The virtual cards are more secure.
Okay, obviously here, this is different from right at the beginning where the first presenter was, as he spoke, he actually showed a little bit of the PowerPoint each time. Whereas here, this presenter here is just showing all of the PowerPoint and nothing's moving except for the presenter's mouth and voice, you see. So if you're going to do something like this, at least try and have some mouse movement to, which part are you talking about and why does that matter for your project? Okay. All right.
Compared to the traditional, to spend effort to transfer money in and out to avoid
2,000 ringgit. With an average revenue per transaction of 82 cents, advertising costs, maintenance costs, salary expenses, fees to key partners, and rental expenses, which end up with a total cost of 1,632,000.
This is really good, and especially when it comes to presenting financial figures, it's really important that you actually highlight a particular figure that you want the viewer to see, and hence using circles, like that's kind of a minimum that you would want to do to emphasize, because and I know that when you see so many numbers on a PowerPoint slide, the eyes just glaze over. So which number should I be looking at? What's relevant? What do you want to draw my attention to? Okay, so at a very minimum, if minimum creativity is to put at least a red line around areas that you think you want to emphasize, rather than the last thing you want to do is actually read out every item. Advertising 50,000, application 5,000, salaries 49,000. Okay, so you don't want to go to the extreme of just you put the stuff on the slide and just read everything out. You put on the slide, but then highlight that this is the key thing that we want to emphasize with these numbers. Always emphasizing, always highlighting is one way of focusing your presenting.
With an average revenue per transaction of operation. In conclusion, we can know that Opulence is a secure multi-currency wallet with powerful features. Lastly, with a unified peer pitch. Thank you.
It would have been nice if they all got together at the end, if they had a bookend at the front, the bookend at the end. Look, you know, we can talk all day and say how things can be more perfect. All right. So basically I've shown you kind of the, you know, really a challenged one and plus a much better one. So do you want to see some more? How is this useful for you? Is this helpful in thinking about how you can actually better tailor your presenting? All right. Remember, it's not about having a highly fancy PowerPoint. It's about matching what's shown in the PowerPoint, and that's like a table, with what you want to present and emphasize. So yes, you can put a lot of stuff on the PowerPoint, but don't make the mistake of trying to read everything out on the PowerPoint. And it's okay. Like I know the top consultants, they put a lot of stuff on a PowerPoint slide. But when they're presenting, they will highlight a particular aspect of that slide, and then they'll talk about that. And then they might highlight another part and then talk about that. And so they're actually directing your attention and trying to keep your attention on one part at a time rather than the whole slide at a time. So keep that in mind. The more information you put on the PowerPoint, the more tools you need to use to direct the reader's attention to different parts of the PowerPoint. If you only have one word on the PowerPoint, then you don't need a tool to direct the reader's attention. Are you with me here? All right. But once you have 10, 15, 20 items in the PowerPoint, well, then you need to direct the reader's attention. Are you to top right corner, top left corner, bottom left, bottom right? Which part should I be focusing on? Okay. So, you know, you got to match what you want to present with what's in the slide. Okay. So I'm not saying that you have to have a PowerPoint slide with everything on it, but if you do, then you've got to use tools to help the reader and guide the reader through. All right, let's have a look at another one. 1.5. Let's have a look. This one was not bad.
Hello, welcome to our group Startup Idea Pitch presentation. I'm Jasin. I'm Kailun.
I'm Richie.
I'm Singhin.
I'm Hua Chuan.
Our startup is named Do It Hub, and we are a robo-advisor for small and medium enterprises, aka SMEs in Malaysia. Next slide. During our research on SMEs in Malaysia, we realized that most Malaysian SMEs have limited access to external capital market, and they do not hold optimal level of cash in their business, most likely due to lack of knowledge or financial expertise. Hence, we came up with a solution to help SMEs maximize the value of cash in their business by investing in money market through our platform. Next slide.
What did you hear just then? What did you notice about this presentation?
One shot thing.
What did the presenter just say?
Next slide.
Is that, what do you feel when they say that?
No
They're presenting together.
It's like someone else is actually moving the slides and then the presenter is talking to them. That's not very professional to do that. And the reason is that, well, the presenter should be talking about the whole value proposition. But if the presenter has to say next slide, next slide, next slide, it's kind of like, well, why can't you just click on the button yourself? You know, it actually cuts into the flow. You know, you want to get into a good flow in that presentation. All right. And
but sir,
yeah.
Actually, I have seen final competitions from companies where they actually say next slide.
I know.
So I see it very often. So actually, I'm thinking, what if it's not because she said next slide, but because of the delivery of it. She didn't say it confidently enough, and so.
If I was a judge of those competitions, I would judge it down.
But maybe in those competitions, the presenter doesn't have, it's not in his or her control to change the slide. You know what I mean?
But
They
the
don't
other,
have the remote control. Or,
correct.
But
the
here,
other,
here
the
here
other
is absolutely unnecessary, because you can actually edit it and cut it out, and so that it's not there. I mean, why have it, right?
Yeah.
Or you can just, while you're recording, and you can see that some of them use Zoom, right? So if you want somebody else to change the slides, I mean, there's really no need when you can all have the same slides and share the screen while you're presenting it. And if you're worried that, okay, one person only can share the screen and he or she has to do it, it's not true, because you can, with Zoom, for example, I don't know what software you plan on doing, but you can actually pause your presentation and then resume it. So if that's what worries you, let me have a full control. Let me have my slides. I'll be changing them so that I don't have to tell you, Zoom-Cal, please change the slides for me. And when it's time for you to present, we pause it, you share the slides, and we continue. You know what I mean? It's like, it's really not necessary here.
Yeah.
So because we can do a recorded version of it, so therefore it shouldn't be inside.
Yeah, correct.
Yeah, there's absolutely no need. And remember, you only have 15 minutes. So why do you want to waste your time on something like that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And the other thing too, if you as a group have gone through this 3, 4, 5 times rehearsal, then even if someone else is moving the slides, they don't need a cue from the other presenter about when the next slide is. You should know when the next slide is going to be, because you've actually been in that presentation 3 or 4 or 5 times.
Okay, thank you.
But you're right. I've seen it in competitions and I don't like it. Maybe it's my personal preference. Anyway, it's just a small thing. That's all right. But Mazud is totally right. Because you're recording this, it's not live, then it doesn't need to happen,
Do-It Hub will be the first robo-advisory service for SMEs in Malaysia. We offer automated online portfolios for SMEs to tap into the money market to invest their idle cash.
And just from a consulting point of view, what do you think about this PowerPoint slide? Class, what do you think? Is it clean, clear, or do you think it needs more color?
I think it's good. Sufficient enough.
Yeah, from a McKinsey Boston Consulting Group point of view, this is professional. All right, it's clean, it's clear, you got 1 or 2 colors, and you got very high contrast. White on the back, you got, I don't necessarily like purple, but that's my personal, I prefer more of a navy or a royal blue, but that's okay. It's still nice contrast. And so this looks really nice in terms of a professional consulting type presentation. Okay.
Investing in the money market through our platform, this in the Philippines, will be considered. This will allow us to gain more revenue streams by duplicating our business model in other countries. Next slide.
There's the next slide.
The market
again.
size of SMEs in Malaysia is large, with 98.5% of business establishment in Malaysia being SMEs. Among these SMEs, micro enterprises are the majority, followed by small enterprises and medium.
Okay, so what about this slide here? What do you think about this slide? What do you see in this slide when you see this?
Good figures, I guess.
Okay, not only you got information, but also then you got figures, but then you've got the size of a circle that represents what those figures are in proportion. Well, I don't know if 54, it should be 1/10 the size of 544, but I'm just saying there's different ways that you can actually use the size like circles to actually represent proportionality, and therefore you're actually communicating 2 things, not only the actual size of the numbers, but also the visual of the figures behind the numbers. So, you know, these are different ways in which you can make numbers a little bit more interesting to the reader, because numbers on their own are kind of boring sometimes. And I'm an accountant and I'm saying this, all right, apologies. Okay.
At the same time, they provide high liquidity, low risk, and offer up to 3.5% high return, which is higher than current account and FD account. Secondly, as most of the SMEs find the lengthy documentation and application process complicated, we simplify the process by connecting to third party for know your customer purpose. Also, with our user-friendly interface of our platform, we could present SMEs investment portfolio in a simple way for the SME customer for them to review.
Yeah, again, very, very nice and well proportioned. What I notice in a consulting presentation these days, because you have wider PowerPoint, you know, they've gone to a 16:9 from a 3x4, and I must admit some of the slides I still use a 3x4, but I need to upgrade. But the 16:9 are much more of a letterbox, so you have so much more opportunity to work with 3 parts of the table. And you see a PowerPoint slide is like a table, and you're setting out information onto a table. And the great thing about having a letterbox type 16:9 arrangement is you can very easily put that table into 4 columns, 3 or 4 columns, and then talk about one at each time. Whereas when the old 3x4, it's very hard to go into 3-4 columns because you know, each of the column got very narrow. So keep that in mind. The wider PowerPoint enables you to be a little bit more creative in setting out information in this way.
Lastly, knowing that majority of the
by the end of the year. Whereas the key highlight for money markets is that the net asset value for money markets is always constantly increasing throughout the entire time horizon until the end of the year. So that's the key difference, liquidity.
So next, it will be about the channel, how we attract our customers. Taking advantage of the SMEs organization out there, we would like to collaborate with one of them, which is...
That's a lovely, Mazut, that's a lovely transition.
It is, it is.
That was a really lovely transition. It really showed that they were working together in that, and just suddenly bang. And you know, I know she said next, but she wasn't saying next slide. In other words, asking for someone else to move the slide, and sort of taken command of this attention of the audience, and very nice visual here, you know, pre-service, post, you've got it going down, and you've got different parts that they're talking about. The previous one was very, very interesting. I'll just show you that again and show you how it comes across again. So let's just look at that again, just briefly.
So that's the key difference, liquidity.
Using his hands too, which is very nice.
So next, it will be about the channel, how we attract our customers. Taking advantage of the SMEs organization out there, we would like to collaborate with one of them, which is TF.
Very, very nice how they did that. So I like that. And it keeps the attention.
for events.
Yeah.
To raise awareness.
Face and easy to access payment system for deposit and withdrawal of SME and algorithm that perform automated maturity matching based on SME financial
Okay, this is a
time horizons and their liquidity needs. However, since money market is a low return.
All right. So, you know, we don't always have the perfect microphones and equipment set up, and you know, students, you got to work with what you can, and like not all of you have the right video bandwidth for the tutorials. We understand that, and we allow for that, so that's fine. And not all of you have a fancy microphone like this little thing sticking up in front of me here. This lady here obviously is using the microphone from the iPhone or something like that, and obviously she needed to do this in order to get good resonance coming out from her mouth. But the challenge is that she's covering her mouth as she's talking, you see. So just be aware of that. If you need to use something like that, try and keep it a little bit lower near your chin, so then we can watch the lips move, and then you got a much better visual in terms of the video presentation. Okay, so I understand some of you still might have this technology. That is fine. I don't want you to see that as a handicap, but just maybe hold it lower and make sure that you speak clearly into that mouthpiece. What do you think, Mizit?
Yeah, of course. I mean, I don't have a fancy microphone either, so just try your best with whatever you have, and I'm sure it's good enough to have a good presentation.
Yeah,
it's important that that your voice is clear. Of course, it's going to be clear if you're using a microphone like Prof. Neil, but even the microphone on your laptop or whatever other microphone you have, I think it can be clear enough, and that's the most important thing, because we need to hear what you're saying.
Yeah, the voice is really, really critical when it comes to recording. Okay, so very nice to see how they set up not too much information, and probably enough for the emphasis that the presenter wants to give in talking about what's that. Again, they're working with the 3-part, but and again, now they've gone and they've changed the background. Maybe they should have kept to the same contrast all the way through. Maybe they don't need that purple in the back, because in the past they weren't using that. So try and be a little bit consistent in how you're using the PowerPoint slide all the way through. Again, we've got white at the back, which is fine. Last presenter, and we're coming near the end.
Yeah. Advertising and fund manager fees. So for the software maintenance cost, we will increase the budget by 5% every year to upgrade our services and able to provide better services to our customers. And for the wages, we will set.
All right. So you're probably thinking, okay, so let's just, there's a few there. And so let me just show you, it's now 5:28. So I just want to keep the value coming here. What's important now is using Zoom is fine for doing your recordings. And a cheap software, it's free, is DaVinci Resolve. If you want to put separate ones together and do some editing, DaVinci Resolve is one that I've had a lot of success with working with myself, and that's, you can get the total free version is good enough for what you need to do. All right. The other tip I give you is when you looked at some of these videos, and I'll just show you one more just for the starting point, because how the video starts is so critical.
Hi everyone, we are group 4.4. I'm Li Tao Chuan, and my group mates are Shirin, Renhao, Yi Chen, and Shafiq. Today, we are here to pitch our business ideas. Our company name is InvestLah. We are a robo-advisor company that functions with a fully digitalized investment management platform, and would like to start off our business in Malaysia. This is the reason why our name is InvestLah, to show a hint of the Malaysian vibes.
The company vision is to become the multinational leader in robo-advisors that values innovations and sustainable business by leveraging the use of artificial intelligence and technology in a comparative.
That's interesting. See, different creativity, and very well done in that it's not like, okay, there's 4 of you, there's 5 of you, there's 6 of you, so therefore you do it in sequence. Here, you've got one group member just doing the presentation introduction.
Today, we are here to pitch our business ideas.
And then suddenly we go
show a hint of the
to the next presenter at the 40-minute, at the 30-second.
The company vision is to become the multinational leader in robo-advisors that values innovations and sustainable business by leveraging the use of artificial intelligence and technology.
Notice how he's leaning forward.
Industry. Furthermore, the company is on a mission to create
He's using
a
his
digital
hands.
investment management platform which can be accessed by everyone to build their wealth. By emphasizing the grid, most importantly, are you a new investor in the stock market with little experience, leading to a buy high and sell low scenario, causing a loss in your portfolio, with a management fees of 58 basic points?
And for our targeted customer segment, Investors' target segment of customers will be Malaysians that own a smartphone.
Okay, so as you can see, it doesn't mean you have to do 3 minutes each. You can actually move it around and chop and change as you wish, but that will take, you know, a little bit more rehearsal as a group to do that. Okay, let's just, what are we taking away from watching these? Basically, what I've shown you some of the top videos. That is, some of those videos that I've shown you got the top marks from last year. I did show you one that got one of the bottom marks from last year. And so it's not about pointing out which is which, but I just wanted to show you a range. You want to see that, oh, there's some things I can do better on. And here are some really, some good presenters that I could try and emulate. Remember, this whole assessment is, I want you to treat this as the first of many that you are going to do in your career. And Mazut will agree that last year there was one startup. Some students asked, oh, could we send you our CV? And what did that startup say to the students, Mazut?
Oh, actually, it was the president of the Malaysian FinTech Association, and of course, he's a director of another company. Yeah, he said, yes, you can send me your CV, but I want a video. not in Microsoft Word PDF file, but he wanted the CV in video format.
Yeah.
Is that what you meant, Prof?
Absolutely. Class, this, I don't want you to see this as, oh, I've just got to do this. Once I've done, I'm never going to touch making something like this ever again. I just do it for FinTech. I get my transcript and I get a job and get out of Monash. No, this, I want you to see this. This is your future. Your future, incredibly, because of digitalization, because of the pandemic, and much more stuff has been done on Zoom in companies these days. How you project yourself on video, all right, matters. It matters as much as what you are saying with your mouth. And I want you to see this. This is training for you. It's not just the first and the last time you're ever going to do a video presentation. So see it as this is a learning opportunity to go to the next level and keep on improving from there. And we just want to encourage you with this. With Zoom, notice how they put the video in front of the PowerPoint slide. How do you do that in Zoom? I actually made a YouTube video to show you how to do that. But all I ask you is when you go into Zoom and you go into share screen, if I stop share, if I share the screen, and now instead of going into, what I see is you have basic, advanced, and files at the top. I'm just going to show you a trick here. You're going to think, Neil, how did you do this? All right, I'm going to share a screen. Okay. Now I'm going to show you what I was just going to say. And so therefore you know what I'm talking about. Okay. When you go into share screen, you have these. Can you all see that? This is what you see. And you knew me, you know, well, okay, O'Connor's got 3 screens. Great, big deal. Okay, but you can only look at one screen at a time. All right. Okay, so at screen 1, screen 2. All right, so I'm clicking on screen 1 and that's share, but that, notice that's basic. Okay, how do you get your face in front of the PowerPoint? What you do is you click on advanced. And when you click on advanced, then Zoom will ask you to open up a PowerPoint slide. And when you do open up the PowerPoint slide, then suddenly your face will appear in front of it like so. I'll just, remember this is a screen capture of just what I was going to show you. I'm going to stop share. I'm going to now share. I'm going to click on advanced and then you click on PowerPoint as a virtual background. And I'll just show you a share screen of that anyway. Okay, and then share screen. When you click on advanced, this is what you see. You see PowerPoint as virtual background, portion, computer audio, etc. So you click on PowerPoint as a virtual background, and then when you click on that, it'll give you, then you've got to search your own computer explorer for that PowerPoint slide. And so I'm going to do that now, and you'll see me in front of the PowerPoint. Now, some of you may know this, so you know what, I'm wasting time here, but just want to show you how to do this. All right, so maybe I click on, let me just click on something that's quality. All right, open. Okay, I'm preparing PowerPoint. And so now, hopefully you will see me. Do you see me in front now? Hello?
Maybe you can share the link in the chat box, Prof. And
yeah, I'll do I'll do that. So normally I would capture something like this, and then Snagit caps, and then I will record my video. It's initializing, and then I'll record that. And so Zoom is not capturing the recording, because what you will find when you actually set it up like this, Zoom will only record the PowerPoint slide. It may not record me in front of it. So I've had success with actually just using the capture software on top of Zoom, and then that records me in front. And you actually, the recording I did in week 1, you noticed in 1.1, 1.2, 2.1, 2.2 was captured in that way. And this is how we suggest that you can do that. And yes, all of you could record your recordings individually and then put it together. But what's important is to think about how it's going to look as the final product. So if you know what occurred in the slide before your part, you can actually say, oh, thank you, Kevin, for going through the actual product proposition that we're talking about. Now I want to talk about the market that we're trying to reach. And so you're helping making that transition, even though Kevin may have made a separate video from myself. But when you put it together, because I'm actually recording myself saying, oh, thank you for Kevin. And then at the end of my section, oh, now Karen is going to take us through the financial analysis that we have done for our product. Take it away, Karen. And then suddenly you cut that off. Karen is next. Oh, thank you, Neil, for talking about this. I'm going to talk about this, and so forth. So yes, you can make individual videos and put together. And so this is a way how you can link together like a blockchain. Well, right, link together through your acting, knowing who came before you and who came after you. And I think that's one way that you can make your 5 parts, 6 parts come together and as a final production. Mazit, what do you think?
Absolutely. That's, I mean, on the technical part, but of course, the more advanced you are with these things, the better it is. But at the same time, I guess we have to have in mind the constraints that students might have. And what's important is that your face is there while you're presenting. So it's not really enough just to have that voice and narration over slides. So please try to, you know, it's a 15-minute presentation. I'm sure that all of you can do it. So try to have that video shown while you are presenting for your 2-3 minutes.
Yeah.
How you're gonna do it, it's up to you. These are some of the things that are really valuable that Prof shared. I myself haven't used it yet, but I do hope that I will use it in the future.
Yeah. Just jumping in, like students, if you can just do half of what we talked about this afternoon, you're going to be successful. All right. Like if you do everything that we're talking about, then like that's nearly perfection. You probably won't have time to get to that. Like that, but that's life. Life is about making trade-offs. Okay. So you should aim to try and think about incorporating half of what we're suggesting at least and try and get there as, get from half to 3/4 the best you can, and within that time limit, and it should be good to go. Yeah.
Can I just add one more thing? And it's already 5:43. I don't know if students have other obligations and things. So I just want to say another important thing. And then we can perhaps open the floor to the students to ask any questions. I'm sure they have a lot of questions as well. So if there's any questions we can address and help. So what I wanted to say is, from these presentations that you've seen just now, you see that the flow of them is sometimes is not the same in every single presentation. So, and remember, your report, your whole idea is supposed to be on the business model canvas, and you have 9 building blocks. So remember, this is the minimum that you're supposed to have in your report as well as in your presentation. Now, how are you going to organize your report or the presentation? We give you the freedom to decide on your own. The business model canvas suggests the flow that it's given there: customer segments, value proposition, channels, customer relationship, and etc. But it's really up to you to come up with something that might be better, that might sound better, more appealing, more convincing to the listeners. And if you just go back to these presentations that you heard just now, you'd notice that some of them start in this way, some of them start in that way. Presentation perhaps should be slightly different than your written report, because when you're presenting and you have 15 minutes, you want to capture the attention of the listener. So when would be the best time to do that? When do you think is the best time to capture somebody's attention, guys? At the beginning, in the middle, or at the end of the presentation?
The beginning.
So it's definitely at the beginning. So, how do you do that? And some of these presentations that Pro showed have done that very successfully. You see that they start with creating, an issue or a problem, or they identify the pain points that are existing in the market, and then they go to the solutions, like, okay, these are the issues, these are the pain points, and this is how we solve them. So remember, part of your value proposition might be, solving a problem. So in that way, you bring that value proposition building block to the beginning before the customer segments, as suggested by the business model canvas. But then again, as I said, if you can find a better flow that would be better, more appealing to the listener, we leave that absolutely to you. Do you want to add some additional things, like one of the presenters did, vision statement, mission statement? These are not in the business model canvas, remember. Do you want to add that? Does that add to your presentation? Does it make it better? Does it make it flow nicer? It's up to you to decide. The business model canvas in the 9 building blocks, remember, is the minimum. Do you want to add more to make it better? Do we have time to do that? It's absolutely up to you. So you have that leeway to reorganize the things a little bit, as long as they make sense. You're not going to bring the revenue stream and cost structure at the beginning, because you'll be talking about the things that nobody really understands, like, what are you even talking about? So there has to be that logic. And in the existing business model canvas, you have it if you follow it, but you can rearrange it a little bit, I think, and you would get a better effect. You start with the pain points, with the issues, what is it that these customers face, and etc. And then you're immediately going into the solution. So then you're like already capturing the attention of the listener. Wow, this is the problem. This is how they're solving. I want to listen till the end to see how they're going to, what's the whole process of solving this issue. Okay, that's for me for now. Prof, I don't know if you have anything else to add. If not, maybe we can open the floor to them. If they have any questions, we'll be happy to answer. You're muted, Prof.
This is a link I'm putting in the chat room of a short video I made on how to get your presentation together, and talking about chunking, like just exactly what you said, Mirza. It's not about trying to present everything, but presenting the core elements of each part is what you're focusing on. Yeah, questions from the class is good. Questions, anyone? And you can type your questions into the chat room if you like.
Even better if you ask directly.
Yes, of course. And I'll just put one more in. That is that tactic I use to use Snagit to record yourself in front of the PowerPoint. So all right. Questions, anyone? Hi. Hello. They were really good this morning, Mazet, and yesterday they had their videos on, everything. It was amazing.
Maybe they're a bit tired because it's end of the day, end of the week too.
They're looking out, they're looking forward to going out for the night or something like that, is it, Mazet?
I'm not sure if they can do that because MCO started today, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Yeah. Hang in there, everyone. It's questions, anyone? Concerns?
Prof.
Hi.
Yeah. It's not a question, not a concern, but rather a question, because you mentioned about the consulting and how they make slides, right? Is it knowledge that you gained over the years, or is there like some website that I can check that? So I
can give you a link to the website. This ex-McKinsey consultant that I've been watching is totally amazing. So I'll share that link with you. Yeah.
Thanks.
Very good question. Next question. There must be more questions here. Oh, here we go. Yeah, the name of the channel is Firm Learning. So this guy talks about how they did PowerPoint slides when they were in McKinsey and things like that. So exactly what I said today, it's all about contrast, keeping colors simple.
Sure. Thanks, Prof.
I'll put a link in.
It's on YouTube, right? Because I found it YouTube.
Yeah, I'm just getting to the link now and copy. And there you go. In the chat room. Yeah, very good question. Next question. Hello.
I think things are clear. So
well, let me just,
I guess that's why.
Mazet, let me just have a look at the questions that were written into the feedback sheet in the last 24 hours. Just have a look, because I did promise I'll answer some of them. All right. So in the last 2 days, let's have a look. Oh, here we go. Someone asked, this was yesterday, in the interview report assignment, should we have an introductory paragraph right after the executive summary, or shall we merge the introduction with the executive summary? Is it? It's up to.
Again, it's up to you, but executive summary would be enough, because that's where you would introduce the things and then you go straight to the building blocks.
Okay.
But then again, if there are things that you want to add and you think that it's going to make it better, by all means, there's no penalty for that, of course. And if it really adds to the value of the assignment, then you'll be rewarded for that. But bear in mind that you have a word limit, which is 2,000 words plus 10%, some tolerance. So you don't want to include something that's not fundamental and then leave something out that is fundamental. So you have to be careful with these things.
Very well said, Mazit. Another question is, someone mentioned tips to a fun and creative video presentation. All groups need to present in Zoom meeting or record or recorded individually. As I said, yes, it is possible to record individually, but think about how you can, by being aware of who goes before you, who goes after you, that you can actually help to chain together those individual recordings. Okay, so you've got to try and bring it all together if you don't record it all together at the same time. And even if you record it all together at the same time, then you can actually, as Mazit was saying, you could actually pause in between each one, and then later on you can edit those pauses out. Okay, and it's always nice to introduce yourselves at the beginning of the video. All right.
So this is actually a very important point, that when you present, we need to know who's presenting, because remember, yes, this is a group work, but you will also be marked individually. So it's important that you have introduce yourself either at the beginning, or even better, if you can have the name on the screen while presenting, so that, throughout the presentation, we know who is presenting. So this is actually a very important point.
Okay. Then,
and just if I can add, to that point, I already answered, just to make it clear, it's not a must that you all are in the same Zoom session and record it, because I know perhaps that some of you would prefer and are more comfortable to do it on their own and then, merge the files together. That's absolutely fine. But as Prof said, make sure that it's not so obvious that, you guys are doing it separately. Like, there has to be, a flow and, all these transitions. And if you're going to do it individually and merge it, make sure that it looks and that it sounds as if you were doing it all in one session, but it doesn't necessarily have to be. So if you're more comfortable doing it alone, by all means, but just make sure that, it can be perceived as a group work and not as an individual work where things are, not related to each other and there's no flow.
There's one more question here. Is it okay to have a startup idea that cannot be executed yet due to immature technology?
Absolutely fine. But of course, don't talk about going to the moon or Mars with the spaceship and etc. So as long as it's within the understanding, that we have, it's absolutely fine. So yes, please include your imagination as well. The fact that it cannot be implemented today, because remember, the blockchain technology, for example, has a lot of potential, and what has been used so far, maybe not even 5% of what it can do. So if you're talking about those things, something that can be done, but is not mature yet to be implemented for whatever reasons, it's okay. It's absolutely fine.
Right. Okay. And finally, someone said, how to stay awake during the long hours of the lecture. So I think that's the cue to finish this session. If you don't have any more questions, please, you can always email us if you have other questions on this. There's several other questions about the content of this week of BIMA. I think the great thing was that this week was when we talked about Beamer as being a insure tech startup, there was a lot of takeaways that could be integrated into the startup assignment. Is it,
Absolutely.
for example, issues about not trying, you've got to think, I got this idea, but at the end of the day, most startups don't have the resources to do it all by themselves. And I think the big thing we learned about Beamer is that they have this idea, they have a niche, but they actually, a key part of their value proposition was driven by the need to have partnership with the cellular providers or partnership with the underwriter. And it is the partnerships that were very important. It's not like they just pay for everything to get their product into the market. So, and that was, I showed you that this morning, that you might have a platform, you need to think about education, and then there's a marketing element, and that's what was kind of summarized what we were talking about with Beamer. I'll just leave it with that. There's other questions that we can talk about with Beamer. There's other questions about that, and I can make a video that responds to that on Monday. But for now, just want to just wish you all well, and please give your feedback as you always do. And if there's any questions, here we go. I have too many assignments to be done. All right, correct. There are many assignments to do. Okay, then I just want to show you that have a look at down here. I just want to show you the assignments that I have to do. I have, let's have a look, 1 project, 2 projects, 3 projects, 4 projects, 5 projects, 6 projects, 7 projects. I've got about 7 assignments too. And so I think the big question is that life is going to throw at you many, many assignments. And so how do we learn to deal with so many things? How can I just say, put aside 6 assignments and then focus on the one that needs to be done? Well, one way is number 1 is to plan your day before the day begins. So you say, okay, Saturday, I'm going to work on 1 or 2 assignments. I'm going to work on one in the morning and the other in the afternoon. And you decide on that and be intentional about your use of that time the day before that execution will take place. So that's one way, because you got to prepare your mind. You don't just wake up in the morning and think, oh, I got 6, which one do I work on first? Suddenly you're actually confused in your mind, and actually it's not really healthy for your mind. So try and do more planning when you have many assignments. Some of them are going to be more important because there's a deadline next week. So therefore you need to plan and slot away a morning or an afternoon to do what you need to do. The assignment that we have for this unit, as Mizit said, is due in 3 weeks' time. So you may want to right now this week set aside a time to meet with your group at least 2 times next week. Start meeting together if you're not meeting that frequently already. So I hope that helped. I'm trying to give you a practical response to this, that life will throw many assignments at you all the time. Mizit, even you have lots of assignments. I have a lot of assignments.
I have a lot of assignments, but not only that, here we're lucky that, a lot of things are pre-planned, and of course you cannot wait until the last minute and start working on things. So you're given enough time to plan things and start working on them. I just want to share a bit of experience, when I was in the corporate world, and I'm sure those who have been in the corporate world or are in it right now, trust me, guys, you're working on 10 things at the same time, and then your boss comes in and he asks you to do something, and you're like, shit, sorry. I have already 10 things. Sorry. I have 10 things. You're already working on 10 things, and you ask him, okay, when do you need this? And he's like, yesterday. I'm like, what do you mean yesterday? He's like, I'm just trying to tell you how urgent it is. So, what we have here is really, quite reasonable. All the assignments were given at the very beginning of the semester, so you kind of knew, when the deadline was. And this is something that I highlighted in the beginning. You need to start working on things from the very beginning. And that's we had that workshop on the business model canvas in the third week, if I'm not mistaken. So I kind of wanted to prepare you for it so that you can start immediately on it. And trust me, if this is difficult for you, once you go in the corporate world, they have no mercy. It happened to me a million times. When you need it, yesterday. It's not a matter of tomorrow or today. My boss is like yesterday. And what do you do? You have already 10 assignments, 10 things that you're working on. You have to stop all of them and then work on what you want. So just trying to tell you, how, as Prof said, how the world really works. And life throws things at us, all the time. So try to manage it. At the end of the day, it's not all about completing assignments. I'm not saying you don't have to complete them. Of course, you have to pass these as well. But I think the process through which you go is more important than the assignments themselves, because it is something that strengthens your character, you as an individual. It prepares you, for that ruthless corporate world.
Just a practical tip, Mazit, for the students. Even today, in the next hour for your group, you go to Google Calendar and you block out 1 hour, maybe twice a week for the next 3 weeks, to just focus on getting together and making improvements on this assignment. You block it out now, because there's always, you block it out now and you book the time as a group next week, and you book another time for the week after, and you book another time for the week after. And you make agreement, make that commitment as a group to meet together. And you're not thinking at the end of the week, oh, when are we meeting next week? And at the end of that week, when are we meeting next week? You set out that time of those bookings over the next 3 weeks leading up to the deadline. That's the best way that you can manage as a group. When individually you decide you do what you want when you want, but this is a group project. And so that's one way, is you commit as a group to meet maybe twice a week for just 1 hour, 45 minutes for the next 3 weeks.
So if I might just add to that, that's a really good point. Very often, we have to do things, and nowadays you can actually solve anything. You can learn anything. You can find out, any solution to any problem. You just go online, search for it, etc. But of course, given the time constraint that everybody has, if you were to do that on your own, you could, but it would take you time. And this is where the importance of group work comes in. When you're stuck, with something that, you see that it's taking you forever to solve it and you don't know how to go about it, set a meeting with your group mates and, present it to them and see whether they can help you with that. Because very often what seems to us as an insurmountable, issue, somebody else might have a very simple issue that could, he or she could solve it in a few seconds or minutes. So work together, as Prof said, sit together very often, discuss things, brainstorm them before you even go into something, see what your group mates have to say, and then, go about it and solve it.
Yeah, I think the big thing is, try and plan the next 3 weeks that you'll have 2 meetings a week for the next 3 weeks. And so you have a regular routine of catching up with your group members. I think that's very important. Okay, everyone commits to that, and so you get through to the end as a group. Use Google Calendar that's really useful for that, is it?
Of course, yeah.
All right, I think this is great. I think we've got some good takeaways, and as always, have a wonderful, productive week next week, class. and wish you really well. And I just remind everyone again in the tutorials that this unit is probably the best job interview preparation ever, because we are talking about stuff that is actually happening as we speak. So. All right. Thank you, everyone. I hope you got feedback from it. Your feedback is always useful, and wish you well next week. Appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Thanks. If you have any other issues, please feel free to reach out, whether through email, and also if you need consultation, I'll be more than happy to help as much as I can.
And next week, Mazit, there's no tutorials, correct?
Yeah, I just announced it.
Excellent.
Because our tutorials are on Thursday and Friday.
Correct.
Next week we have a public holiday on those 2 days.
Yeah.
So we talked about it, and we thought that it would be better to move it to the week after, because we have that exercise that we want you to go through, and that gives you more time to do those things that are required of you.
Yeah.
And at the same time, I think the next week is going to be pretty packed up, because everyone is going to try to replace their classes. So we're going to, for the reasons that I explained in Moodle, we moved it to Monday and Tuesday, and I hope that you will be able to attend at least one of the sessions. Try to attend the one that you are usually in, but if you cannot, if it clashes with any other class, please feel free to join any other session. At the end of the day, what matters is that we are together and that we learn together. In which session you are, it's not a big issue.
Yeah, thank you, Mazit. It's wonderful. Class, yeah, and I think Dr. Shaiban will be helping out in the tutes after next week. Yeah. So that's great. I really appreciate that. Any questions, happy to help answer too. Thank you all.
Thank you all. Thanks. Have a wonderful weekend.
Thank you, sir. Goodbye, sir.
Okay.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
You still recording it, Prof?
Let's stop recording.